Good afternoon, everyone. It's Penny and Amanda from FCSS, back with your hashtag top 10 tips for teens Tuesdays. That's a mouthful. So every Tuesday at 1, we're going to be giving you 1 of 10 tips from Triple P about how you can build a positive relationship or build and maintain positive relationships with your teens and tweens. And today we're talking about number 3, which is ask them how they feel. So those of you who have, assuming our watchers have, teens and tweens, will know that there is a lot going on in that regard. And even though they are better able to verbalize, there's still some things that can happen that can really hamper their ability to communicate to you what's going on. So they really need your help sometimes to keep them calm enough that the parts of their brain that help them access the language center are available for their use. So first thing Triple P talks about is avoid triggering the fight or flight. So most of you, I'm sure, have heard, fight or flight. So I'll just talk briefly a little bit about fight, flight, or freeze. So this is actually a physiological response. Your nervous system kicks in when you feel threatened. So it's a very instinctual thing, and so your body prepares to do one of those things: to fight, to flee, or to freeze, and they're all meant to protect yourself. So obviously when emotions get high, sometimes a teen can get triggered, and they might get triggered by something that you think maybe isn't triggering, but that's different for everyone based on all kinds of complicated factors. So we have to be aware that what might trigger us into that state won't be the same for our teen. So it might be something what you would consider minor. So that precludes any discussion. So if that happens and they're triggered into their fight, flight, or freeze, they basically are incapable of reasoning. So Dan Siegel talks about the flipping the lid. So if you think about the brain, and here is the sort of the part of the brain that remembers experiences and feelings and emotions, and that's kind of down here where the instinctive brain is, and then this part is your frontal part of your brain, and this is the reasoning part of your brain, and it coincidentally is the last to develop. So in your teens and tweens, this part down here is not fully developed. And this part is what's responsible for reasoning. So when we want to have a discussion with our kids, this is what we want their brains to look like. However, when they're triggered into fight, flight, or freeze, this is what their brain looks like. So what we have operating is all of this instinctive stuff, which they cannot control. This is not a controlled, intentional reaction. This happens to everyone when we feel threatened. So we flip our lids, right? So the thinking part goes away and we're operating purely on instinct for the most part. So what we want to do is avoid this. We want to keep our brain nice like this and our teens' brains. So how do we do that? We keep calm. We increase the space between agitation and flipping the lid. So we want to invite them in. Ask them if it's a good time to talk, sit down, become lower than them, reduce the threat, right? So when we see someone looming, our brains go, ooh, sit down. Use a tone of voice that's inviting, and non-confrontational. Ask them to talk about what they're feeling. Maybe you want to help them by saying, oh, it looks like maybe you're mad, or maybe you're sad, or maybe you're frustrated. And you might get lots of no's, but that willingness to investigate as opposed to shut them down is often what's going to draw them out, right? They're going to be like, oh, well, maybe she doesn't get it, but she's trying. Or maybe he doesn't understand what I'm feeling, but he seems like he's okay with me, working through that together. Your feelings are okay. Validate those feelings. I'm not going to let you scream at me. That's not okay. Or throw things. And I can see you're really upset. So let's talk about what's going on and what those feelings feeling like and what you're thinking about your feelings so that we can manage some peaceful behavior. Yeah.
I'm gonna just jump in for a sec, Penny. So for me, it's easier to learn when I have different things kind of going on in my head, examples. So when we look at the word emotion, it's basically just energy in motion, right? And so our emotions, our feelings need to find a way to get out, and that's where our reactions are coming from, right? Because like Penny said, it is instinctual. So, you know, if we're feeling angry and we bottle that up, that energy is not going to go where it needs to go. It's going to go to a place of eruption, right? As opposed to, you know, ending out in a conversation about what is bothering whoever is talking, right? And so keeping that energy emotion when we're sad or when we're frustrated, I know I cry when I'm frustrated, not when I'm sad, but when that is the case, I need to get that emotion out, right? I need to cry, and most of the time I feel better, and I know that happens day in, day out with people if they allow themselves to have that energy of that feeling kind of in motion and through. The problem, or one of the problems, lies is when we aren't keeping that emotion going and we are harboring and we don't show any emotion. And sometimes our teens will get to that point because they feel it's wrong to show emotion, or I never get what I want anyway, so what's the point? And the negative thinking keeps coming in. That's not good. So if our kids aren't showing any emotion, it's time that we do some investigating away from where the argument first happens, right? Because we need to let them know that it is okay to show emotion. One of the things that I talk about with kids in all my presentations is that feelings aren't the problem. It's what we do with those feelings, right? And so it's the thoughts that come from them, the actions that come from them, right? And so if we're angry, just as an easy example, and we want to punch the wall, which sometimes is that fight reaction that Penny was talking about, the punching the wall is the problem. The feeling angry is not. So, okay, how do we go about, when you're angry, how do we go about shifting that energy into something more effective, right? And so stomping up and down stairs helps, pounding basketballs, running on spot, you know, and as you continue to do this with the kids, those become their coping strategies on how to feel. So feeling's super duper important, and we need to let them out. And as parents, we do as well in an appropriate frame. And nothing is worse than when both teens and parents are flipping their lids at the same time, right? Nothing is worse. That's when Royal Rumble happens. And so, yeah, just being aware and calm, like we always keep saying.
Yeah, and that mirror neuron idea, right? So when you're flipping, it just escalates everything. And oh, there was something you said there that triggered something in my brain. Yeah, it's gone now, but yeah, being open. Oh, so how we respond to our kids and our teens and tweens, their emotions, really lets them know, like Amanda, you were talking about how it's okay. So when we respond negatively to our children's emotions, they learn that they're not okay. They learn that, well, if mom can't handle or dad can't handle my feelings, I can't handle my feelings. And those ideas about your emotions destroying you or being too much for you often can be a precursor to some pretty unhealthy coping strategies. So we really want them to understand that, and we need to really figure this out for ourselves, because it's something in us is being triggered by their emotions. So as always, you really need to examine why am I reacting so intensely to that? Because it is the behavior you don't want to allow. But often we're not just responding to the behavior, we're responding to the emotion. And maybe it's triggering our own sense of lack of safety somehow. So I would really invite and encourage people to sort of notice first, without judgment, what's going on for you when your kids are triggered and angry or big feelings. Like what's that happening with you? And treat yourself kindly and take your own time to figure that out. So then you can convey to them that sense of, well, yeah, it's normal. Everybody gets mad. Everybody gets whatever. And here's how we handle that. And the other thing you said that brought back, so about the physicalness, that's the brain, right? So typically in a male brain, stress kind of comes out and it's like a push out. So it's very physical for a male brain to respond to stress, either by, you know, if you have young boys who, you know, you want to talk about things, it's like, it's very common for them to want to push away. And so you have to find that nice balance between being available and being intrusive. And female brains typically sort of take it in and they want to connect then, right? And which is, you know, easier sometimes.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were all able to work through our emotions in similar, I mean, we can't do it the same, but in similar ways, how much different this world might look, or just the family structure.
And I think reiterating that it's okay to gather yourself in the storm of your teen's emotions. So if you need to say, I can really see that you're upset and I really want to talk with you about how you're feeling. And right now I can't do that because I'm feeling these feelings myself. So I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to go into my own space. I'm going to calm myself down. And then you and I are going to come back together and we're going to talk. Because you're the same. You can't be reasonable if you're triggered. So it's not a learning opportunity. You know, the world won't end if you take some time to regulate yourself. And the bonus is you're teaching your tween a beautiful coping mechanism of, oh, this is how grown-ups handle big feelings. They take a minute. You know, they go away so they're not speaking hurtfully, or they're not, you know, so I think that can be a very helpful strategy as well. So I think I covered everything. Anything else, Amanda, that I missed?
Nope.
All right, so that was tip number 3, ask them how they feel. And as always, please visit our website, www.fcss, for more information about the programs in your area or how you can get support with anything you might need to help with your family. And we will see you back next week at 1 o'clock for tip number 4. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.